I have been hoodwinked, bamboozled, led astray, run amok, and flat out deceived. I made an entire video about this whole Unity debacle that turned out to be out of date the second I hit the record button because Unity posted an update to Twitter, and I'll read it here for you all right now. We have heard you. We apologize for the confusion and angst the runtime fee policy we announced on Tuesday caused. We are listening, talking to our team members, community, customers, and partners. Emphasis on partners. And we'll be making changes to the policy. We will share an update in a couple of days. Thank you for your honest and critical feedback. This is Corporate Backpedaling 101. Now, for those who do not understand what is going on, what even is Unity? Unity is a video game engine. Basically, a video game engine is what developers utilize to create a video game. Think of a video game like a house. The video game engine is the tools that the carpenter utilizes to build the house. And what Unity did was they came out and said, hey, we're going to make an update to our policy where now we will charge developers an install fee. So every time a user or a consumer installed a game past a certain point, the developer would be on the hook for that install at a certain fee. Does it sound stupid? Because it is. And this is where one of the key realities of the world we live in come into play. Sometimes, if not all the time, it's not about what actually happened. It's not about the nuances of the debate or the realities of the situation. The important thing is people's perception of what happened. And the perception that was being created around Unity was one of greed and siphoning money from developers. That was the perception people were having for Unity. But companies don't care about perception. You want to know what they care about? Because once you understand what companies and corporations care about, all the decision making, everything they do will fall into place and will start to make sense. They care about money. That is the end all and be all of the discussion. They care about how they can make more money and how they can make more money at a faster rate. That is their golden rule. That is their Polaris star that they strive to, that guides their every action and motivation. It is the wind beneath their sails. So why did Unity make this decision? Because they thought they could make more money by doing it. It's a very simple thought process, isn't it? That throughout the series of events, pieces would fall into place that would be the end result of getting them more money. And sometimes it takes a few steps. Sometimes pieces in the middle get caught in the crossfire. But they were hoping that at the end of all of those dominoes falling, they would end up with more money. That was their goal. That is the motivation. How do we know this? Because they are a company. And what do companies want? More money at a faster rate than yesterday. But why did they walk this back? You may be asking. If they did this to make more money, why would they walk it back? Do they not want more money anymore? No, of course not. They want money. Of course they do. They're a company. A few things to bear in mind. One, we don't know actually what the changes they're talking about are. They could be minor. They could be. It could be a complete walkback. But if it is a walkback entirely on this topic, then here's what I think happened. Developers and publishers were faced with a critical decision. They were faced with the idea or the question, do they jump ship from Unity? If they do that, they would have to retrain everybody to be able to work on the new engine of their choice and potentially scrap any game that was already running on Unity they were actively developing. And to my understanding, possibly even shut down games that were utilizing Unity already because of the install fee. I'm fairly certain that the install fee only worked if you met a certain threshold, but still, developers and publishers are businesses and corporations. So what is their goal? What is the wind beneath their sails? To make more money at a faster rate. And if they deemed Unity to be a liability in that pursuit, they could have run the internal calculations and said, look, we know it will cost more money in the short term, or that it will cost us money at some point in the short term to ditch Unity, to retrain our staff to work on a new engine, or just hire new people for the new engine, and then make a game on that engine. That will cost money, but it may cost less money than staying with Unity. And that was always going to be the question. That was the question I posed in the original version of this video. I said that companies were going to have to make these internal calculations, and that at the end of it all, they would decide if they would stick with Unity or not. And if they made those calculations and said, you know what, we're going to jump ship, it's not profitable enough to stick with Unity as opposed to going to a competitor, then that would hurt Unity. That they Unity here, possibly underrated the backlash they would receive on this issue. Now bear in mind, it is possible that the only thing they're changing are the numbers themselves, and that the fee may be a little bit lower. That could be the change they're making. Could be a complete walkback. If it is a complete walkback, I would hazard a guess and say, or at least posit, that I think some backroom discussions were had between big developers that utilize Unity and Unity themselves saying, look, you guys are a liability. If you go through with this, we will leave you. And I don't think Unity actually expected that. I imagine they expected that on some scale at some point in time, but probably not at the scale of the backlash that they're getting right now. Because also bear in mind, these are companies, these are publishers, these are developers. They don't take their beef online. They don't make a twit longer about this. What they do is vote with their money and say, you know what? You're a bad investment. We're gonna go somewhere else. When a consumer buys a game and they don't like the game, they can complain a bit online, sure. They can make a YouTube video. Hi, everybody. They may make a Twitter post or twit longer or a Facebook message or whatever, talking about their frustration. They can also vote with their wallet, but it's on a small scale individually. But if you come out with a new game, a game that appeals to them, they may, and we've seen this happen before, go right on back and buy the new game, because it's shiny and it looks good. When trust is betrayed on a corporate level, on a company level, it's hard to get it back. If you're seen as a liability to the bottom line, you will be excised. Why? Because these companies and these corporations care about what? Making more money, and more money at a faster rate than yesterday. And they care about making more money tomorrow, and at a faster rate tomorrow than today. That's what they care about. And if you're seen as a hindrance, an obstacle in that path, you will be cut away. They have to think long term. Consumers don't. That is a key difference. It's one of the points Asmongold brought up in this issue that I completely agree with. When you mess over consumers, that's one thing. You can wear that, you can batter the hatches and wear that storm for quite a long time. When you do it to companies, good luck getting that business back. Especially if you go through with that decision. I think it's safe to say Unity did not expect this backlash. They didn't anticipate the backlash they would receive publicly, and I don't think they anticipated the backlash they would receive behind closed doors. Because I'm willing to bet that a few big developers or publishers went to them and said, you either reverse course or we're abandoning ship. Because those companies, those corporations probably ran the numbers and said, you know what? It's cheaper for us if we go to another engine than stay on yours. It's cheaper for us to have a staff of developers learn a whole new engine and work on that engine, and then make a game on that engine, than to stick with Unity. Because that's a tall thing to ask. It's a tall thing to ask to retrain your entire staff to work with an entirely different engine to then work on a game with that new engine. That's a tall task. You either retrain your staff or you get new staff entirely. Because think about it like this. If you were tasked with getting someone to write you an essay in Spanish on the Roman Empire, which do you think naturally would be cheaper? Getting someone who already speaks the language to write you the essay, or finding someone who doesn't speak Spanish, teaching them how to speak Spanish, and then having them write the essay? Do you know how colossally you have to mess up to make that seem more profitable to you, and less of a hassle in the long run? It's not the perfect analogy of all time, but still. Yeah, I think it's safe to say Unity did not expect this backlash. They didn't anticipate, because the public outrage is one thing. The real damaging stuff, that's the stuff that probably took place behind closed doors. It'll be interesting to see what exactly they talk about in terms of these changes to the policy that they're making. I wouldn't be surprised if it's just a lower number for the fees. I wouldn't be surprised by that. Because maybe I'm just uninformed on this part, but I feel like if you were going to do a total reversion and completely ditch the whole new idea, You would just say that, not say that you're making changes to the policy, because that implies that the policy is still existing and will continue to exist. Maybe it's bad wording on their part, or it's very intentional, because it could be the case that Unity is just trying to lower that number value so that people, or that these companies and corporations say, okay, it is cheaper for us if we just stay on Unity. It's not worth the hassle of going to an entirely different engine. We'll still lose money either way, we'll lose less money by sticking with Unity though. And that may be what Unity's trying to get here. That may be the math, the calculations that Unity have been trying to run. And they're gonna try and paint it as them listening to the player base, or them listening to the community, or whatever. But if I had to put my money on the table, I would say them trying to make the calculations fall in favor of sticking with Unity as opposed to going to a completely different engine. I say that's probably what they're going for here. But hey, again, time will tell. It'll be interesting to see. It's kind of fascinating how all-encompassing this Unity drama and controversy has become for the video game industry, because I got a feeling that it's not over yet. But hey, I'll call the video there for the day. Thank you all for tuning in. My pleasure for making the video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out and helps support future content, and I greatly appreciate it. Stay safe, have a great day, go play some video games if you can, and as always, I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye, everybody, until we meet again.